welcome to the World of Wisdom. My name is Linda Rachel, and I'll be your host today. On the World of Wisdom, we are fortunate to have many wonderful authors come to share their vision of the world and the visions that they have written within their own books. Today we have as our special guest, Michel Labrèche. Michel, it's nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Michel, your book has a very interesting title. It's called The Wizard of Us.
Yes.
Is this wizard different from the Wizard of Oz?
Well, it's a bit similar. The things that I chose to call the book The Wizard of Us, because us can stand for the person itself, like we all possess a wizard inside ourselves, can stand for United States, U.S., and it's a play on word with The Wizard of Oz. Because as I see it, in that great movie, you had all the basic characteristics of, like the witch and Dorothy, and you had the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and the Lion, which each represent a principle of the human nature, which would be like the courage for the lion, and for the Scarecrow it would be the intelligence, and for the Tin Man would be like the heart or the soul.
That's right. So many of those things are important, and within movies and in books and in videos, we need to see what those challenges are for us in life.
That's right.
And so in your own book here, what is the wizard? How do you define the wizard?
Well, a wizard is a person, because it addressed to people. It's a person that can access inner magic. And inner magic would be the ability of tapping into your own source and to become a creator yourself. So whenever you achieve something, whenever you break a barrier that restrains you, at one point you become a wizard, because you are somebody that seek out and go further than what was there before you yourself and people representing you.
Do you think it's important for children to have mentors to show them the wizard within them?
Yes, because the children, they possess this at a very high level. And usually what happens during our life is that we are so much being ruled and restrained and conditioned that at one point when you become a full-grown person, when you're, let's say, 20 to 25, then you don't recollect being a wizard yourself, because everything you have learned have been at one point like being conditioned,
You grew up in Canada.
That's right.
And did you have many mentors within your own life that brought you to understand the wizard within you?
No, it was more personal quest, because things happened to me throughout my life since I was a young kid. And at that point, I began reading, scientific texts, all those kind of articles that talks about the body, the mind, the soul. But today we're in 1998. There's not much 20 years ago that was used to be print on those matter. There was some beginning of understanding of evolution, but not that much. So, but I kept going and going, and at one point I began the book. I was the book. I realized that. So I said, well, I have to write it down and try to make some resonance with other people, and so they will be able to read it, and they will have their own verification with what I'm saying,
Do you feel like that most of us have a book within us that needs to be written?
Most probably. Yeah, each and everybody has a unique experience, and the only thing is that if you have the ability of really making the formulation and to write it down into something, a text that is very understandable, then if you are really being able to understand your own experience and you transfer that, either you are a mother in your kitchen and raising kids, at some level we each possess a unique experience, and if we are able to transmit that to one another, at one point we'll become a better person.
Right. So do you feel that actually the books, that whether they're actually written down like yours is, The Wizard of Us, our lives are like books?
That's right.
And so that we are living that life of the book. And how is it that we can achieve a balance within that life of this mind, body, and spirit?
Well, the thing is this, is throughout our youth, we are being, like I say, a bit conditioned, and we try to reach our own maturity of adulthood. The only thing is that when you arrive at that point, you are able to look back what you live since the beginning of your life, and at one point you can try to deprogram yourself. Okay, you can say, well, I lived that, but it was not that an happy moment, and some people are doing rebirths, okay, and going back into a phase on the mental level, just trying to access some memories that were negative and try to reprogram them and put them positive. And that's a good way of doing it,
You mentioned in your book that our negative and our positive emotions can have a drastic effect on our lives. In fact, I think you even said that if a life is full of negative emotions, that is really what leads us finally to our aging, and it kills us.
That's right, that's correct. So one of the major aspects I treat in my book is, like I say, I'm at a major in biology, and the way I was able to make observation of the human mankind, I was able to draw this conclusion saying that if we are able to shed ourselves from negative emotion by being non-attached, all those books that are talking about the secret of letting go and non-attachment and things like that, they have understand something the right way. If you are not attached, what happens is that you won't be able to have all the rest that goes with it, and at one point that would lead you to losing your energy by having negative emotion. Let's say you are attached either to an excess, okay, either to money or to a consort or something like that. At one point you will be able to live jealousy, envy, and all those things. And when you live those negative emotions, then you are being drained of your vital energy. And at one point, it's like if you're taking some juice out of the battery, and at one point when the battery is dead, then you have to pass to another dimension of living, but without your physical body, and come back until you achieve one day the ability of becoming a pure spirit.
So the negative emotions that we all feel, it's normal to have the negative emotions, or it's not normal?
Well, it's understandable, and it's normal in a sense that we are human nature. So I think that our goal is to try to transcend our human nature. So the thing is that it's normal to feel that, but at one point, if you become aware, you won't be able to live what we call insecurity, and then you won't have the attachment, and then you won't have the negative emotion, and then you won't have the fear that lead to suffering. And this was put forward in the Buddhist theory, and they are not far from reality, because when you are almighty knowing, at one point you understand so well the situation that you won't have like the negative emotion, and you will only be able to have the positive emotion, which is linked to love and happiness and blossoming of the soul and all those things, good values, as I can see. If you want to take just an example, like here we probably have that pink insulation, during winter. If you don't insulate your house quite the right way, then like money's flying out the windows, because what happens is that you are losing all your heat. So if you know how to isolate yourself from the negative emotion by being non-attached, what will happen if you are able to transform that? Then all the energy drain that you used to have will be transformed, and you will accumulate energy. And at one point you will be able to transform your physical body into maturing into something else different that we didn't really live through in the history of mankind.
So just as we are abusing our energy sources even within the planet, you're saying that we are also abusing this source of energy, or overusing this energy in bad emotions, rather than trying to store up energy and use it for positive things.
That's correct.
Well, how do you, in your own life, how do you go about doing that? If you were faced with a negative situation or a negative person, how do you manage to store up the energy to be positive?
Okay, so one thing that I have to just say is that as I see it, there's no negative things that really exist. There are only experiences that are technically imposed on me that I would not wish and that I have to live through. And the key of all this, to have higher wisdom and higher being of state, is to be able to live those moments and to be able to defeat the invisible enemy that will try to trash you down. Okay, and at one point it's like if you know you go into a corridor, you have the toreador and you have the Taurus. Okay, and at one point you must win your inner battle into defeating whatever is imposed on you. And if your ability to do this is great, then you'll be in a fast evolving manner. And by doing that, at one point you will become yourself a creator, because you will be able to tap into your own energy, and you will be able to let the wizard go to set him free. Okay?
So, and also in your book you talk a lot about the fact that the ego is at war, and that, is it the wizard who is overcoming the ego?
That's a bit that. The thing is this, is the wizard exists inside us, and the ego is the part of ourself, like I say in the book. I make the analysis, comparison, like with an iceberg. Like the ego part is the little tip that goes out over the level of the sea. The real part of us, the inner ourself, are what are underneath the level of the water. So the thing is this, so we have an ego because we have experience through life, through childhood and growth until we are adult, a certain number of events. And some of them are positive, some of them are negative, but in a way that at one point, if you are able to take this wizard and be the ego, then you'll be able to become a new spirit.
Well, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about how to deal with this ego and how to be more aware of the things in our life. We'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back to the World of Wisdom. I'm Linda Rachel. Today we have as our guest Michel Labrèche, and we're talking about his new book here, and it's called The Wizard of Us. Michel, thank you for coming to visit us.
Thank you.
One of the things that I think is very interesting about your book is that you speak of the many, many things that we have in our world now. We have so many books to inform us. We have so much information that it's more information than we can ever take in. And you talk about the many, many subjects and how it's important to be knowledgeable in all those areas. But what is the most important thing you think that we need to know and learn as we move into the 21st century?
The most important thing would be to be able to listen to yourself, because as I say, we all possess the answers to all the questions we are able to ask. And it's only in the manner of asking the right question, by being able to observe the right parameter. So if you know how to listen to yourself, and by doing that you can try to filter your mental thoughts, okay? So some people would do, let's say, meditation or yoga or things like that, that would help them to be in peace with their mind. And by doing that, you will be able to focus and to access this energy that we are made of, and that origin from what people call cosmic energy or God or something like that.
So, in other words, we need to sometimes come back within ourselves. All this information is around us. There are many people that we could go and speak to and would be so full of knowledge, but that inner wisdom really comes from inside of us.
That's correct.
How do we understand this difference? There's a lot of talk about consciousness and unconsciousness. How can we be more conscious so that we live our lives in a loving manner, in a way that shows that we care about others?
Well, the thing is this, is that consciousness, you cannot really buy it. You have to earn it, in a sense that you have to listen to yourself, and the more you do that, it's like there will be a kind of split inside yourself, and the ego part will be one thing, and then the spirit or the mind part will be something else. You know, some people say, what is somebody that is unconscious? And I say, listen, some people swept the dust under the floor. And if they say, if we don't see it, then it doesn't exist. And that's a bit what I would call somebody who would be unconscious. So the thing is this, if you really know how to access your own mind and really feel the world, Fill with your heart, fill with your soul, and fill with your spirit. You know, we have 5 senses, and those 5 senses really inform us of our surroundings. But there's a other way to be able to tap into other dimension, you know. We see from the infrared to the ultraviolets, but there are other worlds living there that we cannot access.
So we have to listen, and maybe we call this our intuition that is beyond our 5 senses?
Yes, the next level of comprehension would be to be with a lot of intuition. But further than that, at one point I see the human quest for achievement into becoming pure spirit, more than to have only intuition, is to be really connected with the source, or what people call God, and to be able to be creators of the mind, of the body, and of the soul. And at one point what will happen is that, like I say on the book, the wizard has an open palm of a hand, and your inner reality is being projected outside yourself. So you're creating in your surroundings whatever you can achieve, and then you will be able to experience something that is very fantastic to live through, you know, and it will be linked to compassion and to sheer will and to very high awareness or creativity.
So if we are consciously thinking thoughts that are positive thoughts, that are those thoughts that would help mankind, that will be we are creating that reality for ourselves outside of ourselves.
That's right.
In your book you talked about several things. You said that a person who has real faith is someone that goes beyond those 5 senses and has a vision that is much greater than those senses. And you listed some 17 areas in which you said that we should really have some vision that would bring us into this consciousness. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of those things.
Okay.
One of the first things you talked about is that we should be more observant. Do you think that too many times we're too active in...
Well, we're too much caught up in our own life that we spend our time trying to earn our living. And by doing that, we are so much entangled in life itself that one thing that happens is you are 70, you're 80 years old, and you say, my God, I'm going to die soon. Is there something afterward, the afterward, or what? You know? So while you're younger, you should be able to more try to connect with your inside and feel the world, like I say. And if you know how to ask the right question, you will have the answer because it's in the question.
Well, I know they say that we should stop and smell the flowers.
Yes,
and
right.
so this is a part of it, is being a little bit more aware of what's going on around you, actually seeing that other person who's hurting and being able to feel what they're going through.
That's correct.
Right. Well, another area that you talked about was that to be infused by the universal spirit. What do you mean by that?
Well, the thing is this, is like we all are part of that primal spark that created the world. And because we are nourished by that energy, if we know how to be infused by that, we will really be able to set our wizard free and become creators ourselves. And you become like Picasso's or people like that, great creators. In any field, it can be science, it can be art, it can be anything. Somebody that will have intuition into creating something new in any subject, any field.
So it doesn't matter whether we're a biologist, whether a photographer, whatever it is that our field of endeavor is, that if we are tuning into that energy, that it makes us become everything that we have the potential to become.
That's right. We all have our a personal passion or a personal talent, and if we know how to exploit it, we will be able to invent new techniques or whatever that will makes us special, and that other person will be able to share this together.
Well, do you think that it's possible to remain neutral?
We have to.
We have to.
Sometimes it's very difficult, but we have to. The more we are positively or negatively enhanced, we will react, and we will probably have a negative emotion, and then all the rest will follow. So the thing is that whenever you live and you undergo a special event in your life, try to remain neutral and try not to have a reaction to it, and by just saying what did really happen here. You know, like we were talking prior, and we had some people saying, well, I saw an angel, I saw a spaceship or whatever, and you know, some people will start a religion after having seen an angel. And the thing is that what really was the event, and try to remain neutral. That's
so
important.
It's what happens after that event,
That's
that
right.
how it changes your life, how you treat people after that.
That's right.
Okay. There are many other things that, you know, we could speak about within your book, but I think one of the things that I thought was important was the fact that you said we should forgive people. Do you think this is something that's difficult for us to do as human beings?
It is. The only thing is that if you don't know how to forgive, then you will be caught up with a link with the person you don't want to forgive. And then the link will create something inside and will eat you up inside. So when I say you have to forgive, is that if somebody makes you angry or whatever, and or there's a negative event coming to you through that person, then you have to let go. And let go means remain neutral, but at one point to have no attachment. So if you don't know how to forgive, then you will be linked, and then it will create something very bad inside yourself.
Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you'll come back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, you our viewers, and we hope that you'll come back to the World of Wisdom.